Humans keep walking after death has already claimed them. Every hatchling in the academy laughed when the instructor said that. I did not, because Instructor Varek never joked about humans. He feared them. That alone was impossible. Varek had survived the burning rings of Kel. He carried plasma scars older than my species' oldest cities. He had fought creatures that dissolved steel with their breath. Yet his voice changed whenever humans entered a lesson. Not louder, quieter. That frightened me more than any story. The auditorium lights dimmed. 1,000 cadets folded their antennae, claws, wings, and sensory fins into silence. The combat recording began. It came from a border world abandoned 41 cycles earlier. The recording was damaged. Static swallowed every few seconds. The colors shifted strangely. I assumed the corruption was hiding classified weapons. That was my first mistake. The battlefield appeared. Smoke, collapsed towers, ash falling like black snow. No life signs. The instructor froze the image. Observe. I searched carefully. Destroyed vehicles. Burning wreckage. Fragments of armor. Nothing moved. I felt proud. Perhaps this was a perception test. Then someone behind me whispered. There. Every eye shifted. Near the edge of the frame. A tiny figure. Standing. Human. Impossible. The distance marker estimated over 3 kilometers. No powered armor. No support. No shelter. Just one biological organism staring toward an army. I concluded the human was already dead. Humans often looked damaged. Their postures suggested structural failure. Their skin lacked natural armor. Their bones seemed absurdly fragile. Surely this creature had simply not fallen over yet. Instructor Varek resumed the recording. The army advanced. Thousands. Heavy walkers. Artillery beasts. Orbital strikes. The human remained still. I believe this confirmed my theory. Dead things do not retreat. Then the human moved. One step. Only one. The advancing army stopped. Every vehicle halted. Every formation froze. I looked around the auditorium. Many cadets were confused. I was not. Clearly the enemy sensors had malfunctioned. Machines failed. That was logical. Then the enemy began moving backward. Not charging. Retreating. Away from one human. Laughter filled the room. Including mine. Finally. Something reasonable. The footage had obviously been edited for psychological warfare. No civilization would retreat from one unarmored mammal. Instructor Varek muted the laughter with a single glance. None of us laughed again. He zoomed into the enemy command vehicle. The hatch opened. Officers were running. Running. Not organizing. Not commanding. Running. Toward evacuation transports. I searched for hidden reinforcements. Nothing. Underground forces? Nothing. Orbital support? Nothing. Electronic warfare? Nothing. The humans simply kept walking. Slowly. Very slowly. The recording ended. The lights returned. Silence weighed heavier than gravity. A cadet finally raised a claw. What weapon did the human possess? Instructor Varek answered immediately. None. The room became restless. That answer explained nothing. I reached my own conclusion. The instructor was testing critical thinking. Humans must produce invisible pheromones that disrupted enemy reasoning. That matched the evidence. Varek stared directly at me. He had seen my expression. You believe you understand. I lowered my eyes. He continued. So did they. The next recording began before anyone could ask another question. This one came from inside a military hospital. Security footage. Rows of injured soldiers. Species from 5 different worlds. The timestamp flashed. Emergency quarantine. A wounded human lay strapped to a medical platform. Its chest barely moved. Machines surrounded it. I admired the efficiency. The human would soon expire. Biology always obeyed mathematics. Loss of blood. Loss of heat. Loss of consciousness. Death followed. Simple. Then alarms erupted. Hostile organisms breached the hospital. The medical staff fled. Sensible. The patients could not move. Also sensible. Survival demanded difficult choices. The human opened one eye. Only one. Its heartbeat remained unstable. It should have stayed motionless. Instead, it removed its own medical tubes. Blood poured onto the floor. Several cadets gasped. I did not. Pain often caused irrational spasms before death. That explained everything. The human stood. Barely. It collected no weapon. Another mistake. Instead, it dragged an unconscious child beneath the medical platform. The child belonged to another species. Not human. I frowned. This contradicted efficient survival. Perhaps the child carried valuable information. Yes, that must be it. The human collapsed, then stood again. The ceiling exploded. Creatures entered. Long limbs. Too many mouths. No visible eyes. Predators. Real predators. The human should have hidden. Instead, it walked toward them. Not quickly. Not bravely. Simply. Forward. Like gravity itself. The first predator attacked. The recording glitched. When the image returned, the predator no longer moved. Neither did half the corridor. Walls had collapsed. Metal beams twisted. The human remained standing. I blamed explosive equipment. Hospitals stored volatile chemicals. That was reasonable. The instructor paused the footage. No explosives. I stiffened. He had answered the thought. I never spoke. The video continued. The human gathered the unconscious child again. Step, 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 leaving bloody footprints behind. The predators stopped pursuing. They watched, waiting, studying. Even monsters hesitated. I cannot explain why. The recording ended. One cadet asked the obvious question. Did the human survive? Instructor Varek looked toward the dark screen. I don't know. Impossible. Military records always track personnel. Unless no body had ever been found. A strange discomfort settled inside my chest sacs. Humans confused every model we possessed. They ignored probability, ignored injury, ignored fear. Yet I still believed I understood the pattern. Humans sacrificed themselves because they could not calculate value correctly. Primitive empathy, a biological defect. Eventually evolution would erase such weakness. That explanation satisfied me. For almost 12 minutes. Then the academy alarms activated. Not a drill. Real. Every emergency light turned crimson. Doors sealed automatically. The instructors stopped pretending to be calm. That disturbed me more than the alarms. A transmission appeared above the auditorium. Unknown vessel detected. No identification. No response. Approaching at impossible speed. The instructors exchanged silent looks. One whispered a single word. Again. Again? That meant this had happened before. The room temperature suddenly dropped. Even my outer shell sensed it. The main display switched to external cameras. A black ship drifted above the academy. No engines. No weapon signatures. No visible damage. Just watching. Its surface reflected nothing. Like a hole carved into reality. Every scanner failed. Every sensor disagreed. Some reported empty space. Others reported a planet-sized object. I immediately identified the cause. Faulty instruments. Multiple failures sometimes occurred during electromagnetic interference. That was comforting, until Instructor Varek whispered, "They always come after human survivors." The entire auditorium became perfectly silent, because there was only one question left, and none of us wanted the answer. Was there a human somewhere inside our academy? I counted every cadet in the auditorium. None looked human. That should have ended my fear. Instead, it made it worse. Because Instructor Varek had not searched the room. He searched the exits. The black ship remained motionless. It did not broadcast. It did not threaten. It simply waited. I concluded it was damaged. A powerless vessel drifting through space. That explanation lasted 12 seconds. Then every clock inside the academy stopped. Not failed. Stopped. The emergency lights froze between flashes. Dust hung in the air. My translator repeated the same unfinished word forever. Only we could move. I had never seen time hesitate. The black ship had done something impossible. The instructors shouted evacuation orders. Nobody listened. We stared upward. The ship slowly unfolded. Not mechanically. Its shape changed, as if reality itself disliked looking at it. Sensors overloaded. Windows shattered. 3 cadets collapsed unconscious. I assumed our equipment was poorly shielded. My confidence was becoming desperate. Then one of the instructors whispered, "They found another one." Another one? Another what? Nobody answered. The ceiling speakers crackled. A calm voice filled the academy. Human, I need everyone to stay away from the north hangar. No panic. No fear. Just tired. Every instructor reacted at once. Their expressions changed from fear to horror. No, Varek whispered. He spoke. I did not understand. Speaking should have been good. The human was alive. The instructors acted as though he had made everything worse. I followed them anyway. Curiosity defeated obedience. Hundreds of cadets secretly followed behind. The north hangar doors were already open. The human stood alone on the landing platform. He wore maintenance clothing, not armor, not a weapon, just grease-stained gloves. I recognized him. He repaired ventilation systems. I had walked past him dozens of times. He always smiled. I assumed that smile was a primitive social reflex. Now I realized nobody had ever asked why a maintenance worker had unrestricted access to every section of the academy. The black ship lowered toward him. Its surface rippled. Thousands of shadows moved beneath its hull. Not machines, not soldiers, shapes. Watching him, watching only him. The human sighed. I hoped you wouldn't find me. Find him? My mind rejected the sentence. He sounded like prey speaking to hunters. Then the shadows answered. Not with words. Every mind in the academy heard them anyway. Found. Cadet screamed. Blood leaked from sensory organs across dozens of species. I collapsed on one knee. The human remained standing. He rubbed his forehead like someone bothered by loud music. I decided humans must be immune to psychic attack. Another neat explanation. Another wrong one. The human was bleeding from both ears. He simply ignored it. The shadows reached toward him. The air became liquid. Stone bent. Metal screamed. Gravity twisted sideways. Everything around the human broke. Except the human. He took one step forward. The shadows stopped. Exactly like the army in the old recording. My breathing accelerated. The pattern returned. Everything feared humans. No, that was too simple. The shadows did not fear him. They recognized him. The human looked upward. You followed me across 4 galaxies. Silence. You should have stayed asleep. The shadows pulled back. For the first time, the impossible ship retreated. Only a few meters. But it retreated. Instructor Varek closed his eyes. I knew this day would come. I still believed I understood. The human had secret weapons. Hidden technology. Ancient allies. There had to be a reason. Then the shadows spoke again. Why do you still live? The question echoed inside every mind. The human smiled sadly. Because I never learned how to quit. I dismissed the answer immediately. It was metaphor. It had to be. No species survived through determination alone. The ship attacked. Not with weapons. With absence. Reality disappeared wherever the darkness touched. Entire sections of the landing platform simply ceased. No explosion. No debris. Gone. The human ran. Not away. Toward it. Every instinct I possessed screamed that he had finally made the fatal mistake. He jumped into the darkness. Cadets cried out. He vanished. The ship trembled. 1 second. 2. 3. Then, it screamed. A sound older than language. Cracks spread across the impossible vessel. Light burst from inside it. Not weapons. Memories. Millions of them. Worlds. Wars. Civilizations. Every image contained humans. Always humans. Always surviving. Always standing back up. No matter what destroyed them. I finally understood. No. I understood that I had understood nothing. This was never about strength. Never about weapons. Never about courage. Every species asked, can we survive this? Humans asked something else. What survives if we don't? The answer terrified the universe. The black ship split apart. Not from outside. From within. The human fell from the collapsing darkness. Burned. Broken. Missing an arm. He hit the platform without moving. Finally he was dead. Biology had won. Probability had won. Reality had corrected itself. I felt relief. Then his remaining hand moved. 1 finger. Then another. The human rolled onto his back, looked at the burning sky, and laughed. Actually laughed. The shadows scattered into deep space. They fled. Not because the human had defeated them. Because he was still getting back up. Rescue teams rushed toward him. He waved them away. Check the cadets first. Even now, even after facing whatever hunted him across galaxies, he thought of strangers before himself. At last, every conclusion I had ever made collapsed. Humans did not save others because they failed to value themselves. They saved others because they valued everyone, even when it killed them, especially when it killed them. Weeks later, the academy reopened. The maintenance worker was gone. No records remained. No photographs. No name. Only repaired air vents. Freshly welded pipes. And one empty locker. Sometimes I still replay the old combat recordings. I no longer search for hidden weapons. I watch the faces around the human instead. That is where the truth was hiding all along. Not in what humans did, but in what everyone else stopped doing. Advancing. I entered the academy believing humans were fragile creatures that refused to die correctly. I left knowing something far worse. Humans keep walking long after death decides it has already won. I entered the academy believing humans were fragile creatures that refused to die correctly. I left knowing something far worse. Humans don't survive because they are impossible. They survive because even when the universe itself gives up, they refuse to. And sometimes, that is enough to make even the darkness run. Humans keep walking long after death decides it has already won. If this story made you question what it truly means to survive, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more epic sci-fi HFY stories, and tell us in the comments. What would you do if you saw the human standing alone on that battlefield? Until the next story, stay curious and keep looking toward the stars.